What's up, guys? I'm BTC. Welcome back to the Respawn, the series where I answer your questions. Today's video is sponsored by Surfshark, one of the world's leading VPN. Protecting yourself online is getting more important every day, and Surfshark provides some of the best security available with high-level encryption and a multi-hop system allowing connections to 2 servers for extra protection. Surfshark has a very strict no-logs policy which guarantees your privacy online. Now, with so many people spending more time at home, one of Surfshark's best features is the ability to access region-locked streaming content anywhere in the world. Surfshark gives you access to dozens of streaming libraries including Netflix, Disney+, and more. This allows you to view content that might be blocked in your area but is available somewhere else. Surfshark also has great 24/7 support and a 30-day money-back guarantee, meaning you have nothing to risk when you try it out. And right now you can take advantage of a great special offer using my code BLAMETC or the link down below. You can get 83% off and 3 months free. But the offer is only good for a limited time, so click the link down below and try it out. Let's get started. First up, will old abilities be brought back for use in custom games? Things like Scatter Arrow, the Shield Generator, Torbjorn's Level 3 Turret. I think there is a very real possibility that this stuff will make an appearance in Overwatch 2, not just in the campaign, but also for use in the custom games. However, in Overwatch 1, I don't think it's even possible, and that has to do with how the abilities work. My understanding is that the abilities get loaded whenever the character is selected and being used. So this is why you can't take McCree and give him Hammond's grappling hook, for example, because the abilities get loaded with that character. Now, you can create stuff in the workshop that will mimic the grappling hook, and it will kind of function just like it, and you can hit it into the wall and then have McCree kind of fly all around and stuff, but you can't actually take that grappling hook ability and give it to McCree. And again, that has to do with the limitations on how the abilities work in Overwatch 1. In Overwatch 2, because the campaign is going to allow you to use a variety of different types of abilities for the different characters, it seems like they're going to be changing how that code works and how the abilities get loaded. So there's a pretty good chance that we're going to have that ability to use all those old abilities in the custom matches. Next up, do you think the Retribution event challenge from this year could work as a support ultimate? Yes, and I was actually thinking about this myself, and I have something similar that was on my big list of abilities that I have for the different hero concepts that I make and stuff, and I had something that was kind of similar to this, but essentially the idea is that when you hit one target, everybody else in the area gets healed. And that certainly would work for an ultimate, but it doesn't even need to be an ultimate. I could see this very easily working as just a normal ability for either a support or a tank. If it's on a support character, you could place this on one particular teammate, right? Like where if that one teammate starts taking damage, then everybody else in the area will get healed. Or you could have it as an ultimate where everybody has that effect. Or you can have it as a tank ability where you just kind of activate it. And when you activate it, you take damage and everybody else gets healed. So it kind of benefits you as the tank where you're deliberately, you're trying to take the damage to absorb it for your team, and you're also healing them at the same time. So I think that this could absolutely work, but it doesn't even necessarily need to be an ultimate. It could be a regular ability, and it would obviously have to be a little bit weaker than what we have in the event challenge mode, because that's just way too strong. But you certainly could. Yes, this absolutely would work. Next up, what is your usual schedule for a weekday? First of all, I don't have weekdays and weekends. For me, every day is Monday, and I only really take days off when nothing is going on. And even then, I don't ever really just take a full day off. I might relax for a little bit of time, but I have so many different projects and stuff that I'm working on, I always end up working on one thing or the other. So usually what I end up doing, though, is I'll wake up around 6 a.m., I work out, then I go and I check my emails and the other stuff, and then I start working on whatever Overwatch videos, and I try to spend a couple hours working on that, and usually, I try to have stuff ahead of time. I don't like making a video the same day that it needs to be released. I like to try to plan it out a little bit ahead. Now, obviously, some things like patches and events, I can't do that. Like, I have to wait until Blizzard releases the stuff, and then I just make a video as quickly as possible. But for the most part, I try to plan a little bit ahead. And when I don't have stuff to work on for Overwatch, then I'm working on my other channel, where I cover TV shows and movies and that sort of stuff. And if I'm not working on that, then I work on one of the books or the short stories that I'm writing. and I've got a bunch of them. So usually if something comes up, like if I just have an idea about something, then I start working on that particular one. I do kind of jump around a little bit on those, which I don't think is really the best. I think generally when you're trying to write a novel or a story or something, it's better to just kind of focus on one instead of a bunch of them at a time, because then it just makes everything take longer. But since I don't really have any plans on publishing any of my stories or my books anytime soon, I'm not really too worried about it. So in the morning, I'll spend a couple hours working on videos and stuff. Then in the afternoon, I try to work on writing stuff, and usually I'll end up going back and doing some more editing, or maybe I'll work on a hero concept or something that I've been thinking about. And throughout the entire day, I do take breaks once an hour or so to kind of do like mini workouts. So one of the things that is really bad about working at home in this kind of situation is that you just sit down all day, and it's just not good for you. So I have weights, I have a bench, and I have a bike, and all that sort of stuff. So usually once an hour or so, I will stop, do a specific workout. I have a list, like a bunch of different exercises, and I just go through them throughout the entire day. So I'll do that, and then towards the later afternoon, I kind of wind down a little bit. Maybe I'll just work on some other stuff, and then I go to bed and get up and do it again. And that's pretty much my day, almost every day. And that's, yeah, I work a lot. Like if you want to get ahead, if you want to be successful, you have to put in the time. And I mean, obviously there's such a thing as working too much, but I do take a little bit of time here and there for myself, but I spend certainly most of it just trying to work on one project or another. Next up, do you think Winston could use a rework? I don't think he needs a rework in the same way that Symmetra needs a rework, or Bastion, right? I think that the issue with Winston is that he just doesn't have a full kit, and that's kind of an issue when it comes to trying to balance him. The thing is, right now, Winston is doing pretty good, right? He's not super high pick rate, but he's still middle of the road across pretty much all of the different ranks. So it's not like he's absolute garbage or anything like that. He still gets played and still gets used in a decent amount of matches. So I don't think that there's anything necessarily bad with the current power level of the character. But I certainly would like to see him get a passive. I would like to see him get a right-click ability. I just want to have the characters with a full kit, because again, as I've mentioned before, it's easier to balance the characters when they have a full kit, because you have more knobs and dials that you can turn in order to more adjust that particular character. Also, with Winston, he doesn't really have that much to do, right? You leap in, you hold down left click until you start getting attacked, then you drop your barrier, and you keep holding down left click, and then you leap away when it's off cooldown. And so there's not a whole lot to do with the character. I mean, I'm kind of exaggerating here. There's a little bit more that you can do with the character, but I think you guys get the idea. He's a little too simple of a character is what I'm trying to say. Next up, could Torbjorn's hammer work as something more than just repairing your turret? I mean, you could be silly and turn it into an ultimate where you just kind of get that whole Mountain King kind of thing from World of Warcraft, where he gets really strong and gets a whole bunch of armor and you just run around hitting people with the hammer kind of deal. And I mean, you could do that, but then what would you do with his current ultimate? Because his current ultimate is pretty decent, and you'd have to either get rid of it or you'd have to move it to a regular ability. But the thing is, I don't think you really should have the ability to repair the turret anyways. When the game first came out, you could get the turret up to level 3, and the best way to play Torbjorn was to just sit by that turret and constantly repair it, because the level 3 did ridiculous amounts of damage, and that was all you needed to do. Now it's a little bit more disposable, but you can still repair it. And really, I think it should just auto-repair itself. It can do this over time, it can do this when it deals damage. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different ways that it could happen. I don't think that Torbjorn even needs to have access to that hammer anymore, because really, it's almost a wasted button, right? There are only 2 characters in the entire game that have the switch weapon thing. I think it's, Torbjorn and Mercy, unless I'm forgetting one. Those are the only 2 I can think of, though, where you can press that one button. Like, you have a dedicated button for just 2 characters, and it seems kind of dumb. So I would just get rid of it entirely, and I don't know. Like, I don't know what else you could do with the hammer that wouldn't be just kind of like a meme. Next up, why is Genji such a popular pick? I've talked about this before. Genji's pick rate kind of breaks the rules. The thing is, he's a cyborg ninja with a dragon sword, and people think that's really cool. It doesn't matter if he's meta, it doesn't matter if he's strong or weak, or if he's been buffed or nerfed, it doesn't matter. He's a cyborg ninja with a dragon sword, and people think that's cool, so they're going to play the character. That's pretty much it. Next up, should Farah have armor? It looks like she should, doesn't it? After all, Farah is quite literally wearing a suit of armor, and just like Brigitte or Reinhardt, you would expect her to have some amount of armor for her health, but for balance reasons, that's probably not such a great idea. I have considered maybe the idea of they could have 25 armor on Farah, where you have 175 normal health and then 25 armor. You could do that, and it would make her a little more resilient to the long-distance hit scan type stuff. But the problem with Farah in particular is console players, because while Farah is not really a big deal on PC at all, Farah is much, much stronger on console. And if you were to give that character armor, then she would probably just completely dominate the game. At one point, Farah was the #1 pick on console and was just absolutely crushing everything, and they had to make a bunch of nerfs and stuff, and they changed some other things around. But I think if you were to give Farah armor, it might make things better for the PC players, but I think console would have a really hard time with it. For that reason, they probably should balance the characters differently. I mean, they have done it in the past. There have been times where characters on PC or characters on console get different changes in the patch notes, so I don't see why they couldn't do this. They could certainly give Farah 25 armor on PC and just not give it to her on console, and that might actually make the character a little bit better on PC, more worth using, but I don't know. Unless they're willing to do that, you'd have to split it up. I can't see giving Farah armor on console. It would just be way too strong. That is going to be all the questions for this video. Thank you to everyone who's submitted one. I will have a new question card posted over on the community tab of my YouTube channel. There'll also be a link down below where you can go directly there and make a question for next week. Once again, thank you everybody, and thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Go and check that out if you haven't already. A big thanks to all the Paragons and other channel members for all your support. If you'd like to become one and grab some cool rewards, click the join button down below. Also, if you enjoyed the video, drop a like before you leave, and remember, always blame the controller, because it's never your fault.